All right. Fine. We have Mr. Scarberry. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
So tell us, give us we've heard the overview. What is it that you want the listening audience and people in general to know about the situation as far as parental rights, and what is your advice to anybody that's going through this, and tell us what steps have you begun to make to rectify this ruling?
Well, first off, Seneca, I'd like to point out that this isn't just about parental rights. For me, it's the parental rights that it's my parental rights that have been trampled on, that have brought out the real issue of this cause, which is protected by our First Amendment of the Constitution, which gives us the freedom of religion and the freedom of persecution from the religion that we choose to have, or lack of, that we choose to have in our life. The rally, even though it started out as a Father's Rights rally, has evolved into an equal rights rally. Like I said in the interview, I never allowed my personal religious preference to interfere with any type of religious training that we had already started the children in order to maintain a stability for the joint legal and physical custody that we already had. This has just been an absolutely horrendous experience for me, probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Those children have been my life since the day I found out they were coming. And I will do everything in my power to not just rectify the situation and bring them back into my life as much as we both want, and also, hopefully, some changes within our government so that they can realize that the Constitution is there for a reason, and to give us all the rights that we deserve, that people have died for, to protect in this nation.
So when dealing with this, in this entire situation, what has been have you received a great deal of support from the community and from I know you've been reaching out to the media, but have you been receiving a great deal of support in general, do you feel?
Yeah, definitely. This is because this deals with a First Amendment issue. This is an issue that reaches across the board to everyone, and I have been overwhelmed by the amount of support that has been shown from not just single fathers, not just people who have been in my situation, but everybody, every demographic possible. This rally that we're having outside of the Madison County Government Center on December 16th is going to have such a huge representation there from almost every group you could think of, and it's because if they start trampling on one person's rights, then when are they going to stop? Who's going to stop them when it comes up to another issue? Who's to say that if the judge was Christian and the father was Jewish, or if the judge was agnostic and the father or the mother, if for that instance, was Christian, and they had a bias against that person? In no way, shape, or form in the order did they come across and list how the religious difference played a part in the children's lives or anything like that. It was just two bullets that were basically pointing out that I was agnostic, and it blew me away when I saw it.
And sir, I am very, very familiar with Madison County. I spent a lot of time in Madison County about 10 years ago. I'm very familiar with that area. Would you like to tell people what the biggest driving religious force is in Madison County? Give them a little background on that.
Sure. Madison County is definitely a religious community. They have the annual convention here. It tends to be well, you can't really drive around this town without seeing a church on the corner.
Yeah.
We definitely are heavily populated within the religious community, and the thing is that I like to point out is that this isn't this. I'm not trying to make this a slam on religion or agnostic versus Christian or anything like that, as much as just the fact that this particular judicial system has, and this commissioner and this judge has decided to use my lack of faith or my lifestyle to choose not to be arrogant enough, or I shouldn't say arrogant enough, but not to be in a position where I can sit there and say, yes, I definitely know what the truth is, in a way to use it against me, and at the highest level, because as you heard in the clip, these kids have always been number one in my life.
Right.
And just to give some of the listeners out there a little background of what I can see exactly where you're coming from, sir. I'm not surprised, and I really hate to say this, but I'm not surprised that you're in this situation in Madison County. Madison County is known for the International Church of God headquarters. They have Anderson University there, which is a religious college, and there's a heavy amount of, basically, if you're not in some kind of Christian-oriented church or Church of God up there, it tends to go, things don't go in your favor a lot of times up there. And that's sad but true, because this is supposed to be about the letter of the law, not about your religious affiliation. But, and honestly, I'm not surprised that that's come out of Madison County. I know how they are.
Well, and the presiding commissioner that made the ruling initially, apparently from what I'm hearing from other people involved in the community, is that he is a highly religious man anyway, which I understand that the judges have a lot of discretion in family law, but to allow your discretion to ruin a family when and not give any consideration to the true best interest of the children. We requested counseling. We requested mediation. We asked the judge to sit in his chambers and meet with our children, and so that he could get a feel for just how positive and how encouraging this relationship is, and what a source of love they have with their father. Yet he refused to do any of that, and basically just used my religious preference against me.
Mm. Okay, well, I have the court order right in front of me, and there were a few questions that I had for you. Now, in the court order, I see that it mentions that, quote, there was evidence that the respondent / mother had left the minor children at home alone and did not feed them breakfast and did not at time buckle them in their car seats. So, based on this, did the judge even, in your opinion, take this into account when he made his ruling that these kids were going to be in a potentially dangerous environment, or was he solely looking at the fact that you were of a different religion or had different religious beliefs than your ex-wife?
Yeah, that was another thing that just blew me away. There was substantiated neglect that was going on over the place. Not to mention live-in boyfriend who attacked me, in front of the children. So you have this environment that's very questionable, but yet my religious preference was made more of a point than what her neglect was. And the thing was, I understand the importance that both parents play in the role of children's lives. I was not seeking to take the children away from her. I was trying to keep it joint for the benefit of the children. However, this judge obviously feels that my agnosticism is a worse offense than putting the children in a situation where their safety is involved. In that when she one of the instances that she admitted to in court was when she left our two youngest home alone to take the oldest to school. And our youngest child, at the time, they were, I believe, 3 and 5 years old. And at the time, our youngest child has cerebral palsy, and she falls quite a bit. She has to wear braces and stuff like that. And our son, our middle child, the oldest in the home at that time, since they were left home alone, he didn't know how to dial 911, and that's a responsibility that he should not have put on him. And if you would go to any firefighter and ask them, even if she would have left all three of them home alone, and you go to any firefighter and ask them, what's an appropriate age to leave a 7, 6, and 4-year-old home alone, I believe pretty much all of them would have the same answer. How about never? But yet my agnosticism was a reason to strip away my legal and my physical custody over this type of environment that we were able to substantiate in court.
So the people are, and you want to make clear to the people that you're out here for what's in the best interest of the children. If in your appeal, if in the appeals process it is granted joint 50-50 everything, and you're granted that, and if mom was also agreeing to go to some parental counseling or whatever to possibly make corrections in the matters of what she has done here in the past that is alluded to in the court documents, if that all was to transpire, and after all was said and done, if this ended up a 50-50 joint, would you consider that a feasible and satisfactory conclusion?
I would consider that a major win. I want my children back in my life, and they want me back in theirs as much as what we have already grown accustomed to over the last 4 years.
Okay.
Like I said, of course, do I want my children 100% of the time? Yes. And if I was to a point where I thought that that they were in danger and they needed to be with me 100% of the time, like she was a horrible mother or something along those lines, then definitely I would be no questions about it. They don't need to be over there.
I think that's a great standpoint for you to show too, is because you're putting out here, hey, listen, I understand that for the needs of the children, they need their mother in their lives as well. I'm pushing for a 50-50. I'm not going for a winner-take-all thing. I think that shows a lot of respect from you as a parent as well, and I'm very happy to see that, provided that it is a safe environment on her aspect as well.
Right. That's the biggest thing, is that we can see that, maybe through some classes or counseling and whatever, that the environment can improve to a trustworthy environment. But definitely my number one interest in this whole thing is what's best for the children. And they want both of us in their lives as much as possible. And to try to alienate one father or even mother in another case because of religious preference or just because of a general bias that you have towards fathers or a religious preference is not what is in the best interest of the children.
Well, okay, I'm back online now. Briefly got disconnected, but I had a couple questions for you really quick, Greg. And this is just to clear up, because I know people are going to look at these documents and they're going to see something questionable here, and I want you to clear this up for us.
Okay.
In the ruling or in the documents, it says that it mentions something to the fact that that you were unable to control your anger and that you use profanity in the presence of your children. So, and then about the whole anger management thing, can you clear that up for us and explain to us the real story behind that and why they put that in the
Sure, I'd be more than happy to do that, Seneca. Let me first off, the profanity thing. I cannot sit here and recall more than one specific time or even one specific time where I purposely and intently used profanity in front of the children. If there was a time where I have, stubbed my toe or something like that and let out a common reaction expletive, then, I apologize for that. I do not teach my children to use profane words I don't, as a parent, I don't want them going to school and, you know, using words like that and getting in trouble. I mean, my kids all get great grades in school. They're all well behaved. You know, they were not receiving any kind of, I mean, it takes two parents because I've been 50-50 up to this point, our children have always gotten praises from everybody. And that's not just a one-parent thing. That's not, she doesn't deserve all the credit for the way that they've been raised up to this point. And if I was, in court, they tried to bring up a story where I had called her a explicit word in front of the children. We denied that. That never happened. However, you know, the judge felt like that was something to believe. And as far as the anger management, it's anger in front of, at times, because we handled our divorce outside of court. This was the court's first time truly taking a look at this matter. And when it's the court's first time taking a look at this matter, they are allowed to take everything into account. With that, when we were still married, our marriage was failing. I was angry about it. I never put the kids or her in any kind of physical danger or harm. There was a time where, because I had anger about it, did not know how to deal with it, I voluntarily had checked myself into anger management. We testified to this, and because of that, the judge was able to consider that and had considered the fact that I had failed to control anger at times.
So in essence, you're saying also in addition to the religious infringement, you also got penalized for seeking help or something.
That's right. That's correct, because I voluntarily put myself into anger management. And they didn't even try to attack me on the grounds of abuse or anything like that, because they would not have gotten anywhere, because I have never been a threat in any way. I just, you know, it's an emotional thing. Nobody gets married with the expectations of that marriage failing, and it's an emotional thing. You know, we had a lot of verbal arguments, and I needed to find a better outlet to deal with the emotions I was feeling at the time, and now it's being used against me in this order. So it's just been a horrible month for me. I don't know how else to say it, you know.
In the past month or so, since November the 9th, I understand, right?
Right, yeah. The judge signed the order, or the commissioner who wrote the order signed it into effect November 1st. Judge Newman, the commissioner's name was George C. Pinkel. The Judge Newman, Thomas Newman Jr., was the judge who actually signed off on the whole thing on November 8th, and then I received the order on November 9th.
So can you take us back to that day, November 9th, and when you received the order, what went through your mind when you read that, and when you first figured out the fate of your children? How did that make you feel? And can you just take us so we can? I want the audience to know how serious this is, and I want them to really realize how this made you feel when you first received this order.
That was a very hard thing for me to see. You know, I can't begin to describe. I think anybody who has children, if they could imagine all of a sudden being told that you no longer are going to see them as much, and you're no longer going to have a say in anything major in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the worst day of my life.
I can imagine so. And we also want to clear up another situation, because I know I've heard this in the media as well. about the incident between you and your ex-wife, current boyfriend, and I want you to tell us about that situation and, you know, just to clear up the air about what really happened in that particular incident where you said that he confronted you and
he attacked me, yes.
Yes. And tell us what resulted from that, and is the court taking that? Did they even take that into consideration?
Well, this happened, Seneca. I received the order on November 9th, and then November 11th is when the boyfriend attacked me. So it happened after the fact. Obviously, before that, he had sent me emails on Facebook before I had a chance to block him. Basically, name calling and trying to gloat about this and that and everything else, and then the order came out, and then 2 days later we were having custody turnover at a McDonald's. It was my time to have the kids for 4 hours. We meet at public places, and they were getting into her vehicle, her minivan. He was sitting in the passenger side, and they were getting into the minivan. I was talking to her about a fundraiser the children had going on. When I was finished talking to her, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to the children, so I began to walk up to the minivan to wave goodbye. That's when this gentleman started yelling at me, telling me I was getting too close to the minivan, began to shove me. I knocked his arms off of me and said, "Please don't touch me." And I turned around and I went to say goodbye to the children again, or actually say goodbye to the children this time since I didn't get to do it the first time when I tried. And then that's when he punched me in the back of the head. I turned around. He punched me 2 more times in the face. I was able to wrestle him down to the ground to keep him from punching me any longer. I did not strike him. The whole time this is going on, my children are sitting in the car seeing the whole thing, screaming at the top of their lungs, "Daddy!" Just absolutely in terror. And you know, I have seen my kids in every emotion possible in these last 3 years, or in the last 7 years, since I have been active role in their lives. I have seen them happy. I have seen them sad. I've heard them cry. I've heard them laugh. I have never in my life heard my children scream in terror like that. Terror. And while this gentleman tried to attack me, finally, as somebody who was sitting in the drive-thru of McDonald's heard the kid screaming, got out of her car, ran over there, said the cops were being called. At this point, I was able to basically keep myself, I was able to keep him pinned between my vehicle and me so that he couldn't hit me anymore. And he was like, "Well, get him off of me." And so then I rolled over. He jumped up, punched me again, kicked me. Then he tried to punch me again. I deflected that with my foot. They got into the van.
In front of the cop?
I'm sorry?
He did this in front of the cop?
No, the cop was not the one who broke it up. It was a female came over and said the cops were called. And then that's when he was like, "Get off me." And so then I rolled over, and that's when he jumped up, attacked me again, then jumped in my ex-wife's minivan. They drove off. I called the police because the police weren't called. She was just saying that to break the fight up. I called the police. Police came out. Thankfully, that neutral bystander stayed around to give her testimony to what she had saw. So she stuck around, told the officer what she saw. I told the officer what happened. And this time I'm talking to the officer, I get a text message from my ex saying that they're going to the police station to file a report against me. And so I showed the officer. She went over there and spoke with them, and eventually got this guy to admit in the police report that he was the aggressor. And so I filed charges against him. I'm sorry?
Was he arrested?
No, he was not arrested. And I filed charges against him. Initially, somehow all that paperwork came up missing, so I had to go back up and refile the charges. I refiled the charges, and I found out yesterday that he is being arraigned into court on December 29th for misdemeanor battery charges.
Okay, Craig, we're going to go to the lines real quick. We have one caller. I'm going to see if they want to weigh in on this conversation.
Okay.
294, just listening, or are you wanting to comment?
I'm just listening.
Okay, thank you for listening. So, Craig, so what is your biggest fear as a father at this point? What is your biggest fear out of this whole entire situation? And what do you hope that will come out of this? Whether it's in your favor or other people learning from this, what do you want? What are you wanting from this, and what is your biggest fear as a father currently?
Well, obviously, as I stated before, what I want out of this is my children back, and right. not only do I want my children back, but I also want some changes made so that the judicial system, at least here, if not throughout this country, remembers that the Constitution is the Constitution for a reason, and that this nation was built on the foundation of religious freedom, and that as if you're truly supposed to be acting in the best interest of the children, then we need to consider the whole picture and not just a part of the picture that you want to look at. And this is a big thing. And as a father right now, I try not to focus on my personal feelings at this point, because it would make the whole thing just too hard to keep having to go back over it and rehash it every single time. I push forward because I'm fighting for my children, and they give me the strength to deal with it and to keep pushing forward, and that's where I'm at with it right now.
That's good. So can you tell us about this rally that you have coming up here? It's going to be in about a week or so, or 2 weeks. And can you tell us, if anybody wants to come out and support and that wants to get involved with this, can you tell us how they can get involved with this rally or this movement that you are planning on doing?
Yeah, we're having it outside the courthouse. I have a permit for the special event outside of the courthouse on December 16th. We're saying 10 to 6 p.m. The reason it's so long is because there's a lot of people who want to come show their support but can't make it at certain times, and because we want everybody who wants to have a voice to have a voice, it's going to be a come and go type of thing. At this point, we're asking that if you want to bring signs, you bring signs. However, I do get the final say in what the signs say because it's my name on the permit, and I don't want to be held responsible for vulgarity or trying to incite public unrest or anything like along those lines. As long as the signs say something about religious freedom or equal rights or something like that, or father's rights or whatever it is, about this issue that appeals to you, is fine, as long as it's tasteful and tactful. Also, we're on Monday. I finally got my tax ID number. We're opening up a legal fund to help with the legal expenses to be able to push this as far forward as it needs to go to make the changes that need to be made for everybody.
And if people want to donate to that, how can they do that?
Yeah, once I get the account set up, Seneca, if it's okay, I will contact you with that information. Like I said, I have the tax ID number that I need in order to so people can claim it on the end of the year taxes if they want to as a donation. I just have to go now to the bank and actually open up the account, which I plan on doing on Monday. Our interview with Abdul in the morning, and we have another news release that we're doing with a local Indianapolis entertainment magazine called Nouveau here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yes, that was the biggest thing. Cause I know some people were wondering how can they help out with that. And like I want to remind the audience, if you do want to go out and support, please, just please be tactful, and just please keep it. We don't want this situation. We don't want to give these people any reason or leverage to, not, what I'm saying, we want to have all the ducks in a row. So if you're going to go out and support this, please be tactful and mind that this is a serious situation, so let me ask you this. I mean, this is just my I just want your personal opinion on this. Do you think that there is a huge bias in a sense that, like people assume that because you're not Christian that you're not fit to be a parent? Like, because like as we've seen in recent incidents in the news, that there's been all kind of dysfunction within like the church and stuff like that, and people assume that all Christians are good when they're not all good, and I really think that is a fair assumption, especially we live in America. People should have the right to raise their children any way they want to raise them. Like, do you think that there's a fair bias, and like what, I don't know, what are your feelings on that?
Well, I this is an area that I like to be careful with because, like I said before, it's the First Amendment affects Christians as well. I mean, like I said, who's to say that it's not going to be an agnostic judge next time who discriminates against a Christian. However, definitely, I mean, I believe that anything that deviates from the mainstream is looked down upon, or it's easy for them to take comfort in discriminating against them because they know that whatever the majority is, have that cushion. I believe a lot of people might even hide behind the Christian label, which is where we get all the church scandals and things like that, because of the fact that going against the mainstream could discredit you easily in a lot of different ways. However, I've had plenty of Christian friends, a lot of my friends who are Christian, and Christian supporters through this situation. It's not to me, like I said, it's not to me. It's not necessarily an attack on Christianity or a certain religion or religion in general. It's about preserving the rights that we have here in America. In 2005, I think you and I spoke earlier briefly about this. There's the Cale Bradford case out of 2005 out of Marion County, where both parents actually agreed upon a religion, which was but then the judge stepped in and said that because he didn't agree with their religion together, he was taking the kids from them. And, so definitely I think that there's precedent set where preferential treatment has been given on more than one occasion. But the point is that is to me a violation of the First Amendment Establishment Clause.
And, sir, if you could, because I know that there's probably some people listening to this that aren't, obviously most people are going to be familiar with the majority of Christian values out there, but when you have cited agnostic backing or agnostic principles, could you give people a little bit of an idea what you mean by that? Because I know what that means. I'm pretty well versed in religious studies, but agnostic can also have some different points of views and different types of takes on that. So could you give us a little bit of an idea what it's meaning more to you, and where that, and hopefully give people a better perspective of what the judge is looking at here? Sure.
Agnosticism is basically just a person who doesn't, for lack of better words, doesn't buy into the man-made religious aspect of life, and doesn't want to confirm nor deny the fact that there's a possibility for a deity. It's basically just not taking a stance on religion in general, and that is where I'm at with it. I don't.
More or less, in other words, would it be safe to say that you're like, yeah, love God, that's great, that's wonderful. I have my own personal relationship with him, but it's not something that I'm going to be dragging into a daily hardcore practice within my life.
Well, I wouldn't say that I necessarily have a God in my life that I follow. But however, I have seen the impact and changing ability that a spiritual life can have in a person through rehab and through personal struggles, being able to hold on to a sense of hope that a higher power can give you. And I respect that, and because I respect that, and I also respect our First Amendment to be able to give us the right to believe what we want to believe. And so I'm not one to sit up here and say just because I don't believe it means it's wrong. You can't believe it either. I believe in individual choice, and what's best for you is best for you. That doesn't mean it has to be best for me as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I wanted to really have a lot of people, when you're agnostic, that can have a lot of different connotations out there, because a lot of people don't, I don't know, I've heard even myself being a big person that really studies religious aspects, you see a lot of different takes on that actual definition.
So, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I believe that there's agnostic theist and agnostic atheist. And I don't know. I guess I don't know what side I would take on that fence. I don't really like labels a whole lot. I just know what I personally feel through what I believe through my own experiences and through my own studies and understanding. And that's why I don't try to push it on other people because I believe everybody has the right to do their own exploration and find out what truths they want, what truths they believe in, and what truths they think are the best of their lives.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying that for us.
No problem.
Well, Fred, I really want you to, and it's really, I was sitting here thinking about this. It's really ironic how you've served this country, and you serve to protect our basic rights and civil liberties. And now it's really ironic that you are dealing with this situation. Like it's really a slap in the face. It's to me, and it kind of makes me think about that when I realize that you served and you done that for our country, but yet you can't even get basic rights or have or you have to deal with a certain situation like that. Like, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely ironic, but the point is whether I served or not, whether I've given my life back to the country or not. The point is we're all entitled to our constitutional rights as Americans, and this would be an absolute travesty, regardless of if I was a veteran or not, and this should never have happened in the first place. And I hope that proper correction comes about.
Right. Well, I just wanted to pretty much wrap this story up. We really want to thank you for coming on today and just
thank you
sharing with us, because a lot of people really don't know their rights, and we see, especially here in Indiana, and I want to touch on this really quick, how it seems like, or it's been perceived to be, that the court rule in the favor of the woman in Indiana so many times, and I've seen so many situations where the children would be better off with the father, but here in Indiana, it's the woman, her word overrides the man's word, and I really think that it's unfair, and I think that I hope that this will start to push that issue out in the forefront, because I think that so many times the fathers that are are trying to be involved in their children's lives and that aren't deadbeats and that can provide a better environment for their kids, they get pushed around in the judicial system. And I really feel that this is an issue that I'm going to be talking about more. And I think this is an issue this is another example. This is a classic example of how women can go and say whatever they want to say to the judge, and they'll take the woman's side.
There's definitely a lot of unsubstantiated allegations that don't have to be proven along the lines of divorce and family court, which you would assume that, or you would want to assume that the courts wouldn't just take one word over another without having evidence. But unfortunately, because there's no really concrete said way of how to deal with family court, allegations and judges' discretions are more highly used than laws and guidelines.
Right. Well, we really want to, if you can, can you, we're going to probably schedule that if you're up for it, for you to come back and give us an update, as things progress, because I really want people to follow this story, and I want people to, like you said, once you get your tax ID number and get all that underway, I would like for people to contribute and to help you out, because I really feel that this is an important issue that we can all learn from, and I really hope the best for you in this situation. So I really hope you can come back on and give us an update and let us know, how things are going and how we can help out. And that's pretty much it. Did you have any final things that you or final thoughts that you had about that you want the audience to know? Or
no, I appreciate all the support, and I'd be more than honored to come back on and keep you guys updated. That's not a problem.